All right, event number 2. Here we go. Loki's up next. Let's go! Hello, cinephiles. It's me, Todd. I'm in the studio. As you can see, I just wanted to let everyone know that the best way to support the channel is to subscribe to my Patreon, where not only do you become a member of the community, you get early access to the B-side videos, as well as watch-throughs of movies or TV shows we are covering, and other movie reactions and commentaries from a filmmaker's perspective. And if that's out of your budget, no worries, just hit that like button. It really does help out the channel with the algorithm. And of course, subscribe to get the latest videos delivered directly to you. Hit that notification bell to be alerted of the newest uploads, and please share these videos with your friends and family. And now, back to our regularly scheduled program. Alright, I'm leaving the NBCU FYC House and heading over to the Loki event now at Pacific Design Center. So we're doing a whole grand circle tour of LA today, going from Hollywood to West Hollywood, going from the FYC House to the Pacific Design Center. I'm so very excited about getting into the FYC event for Loki. Such a huge fan of all of the Marvel movies and the crossovers and how they've structured the shows on Disney Plus. And how WandaVision and Loki basically are kicking off the next round of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Spoilers. Loki killing Kang at the end of the season literally starts the unraveling of the multiverse. Like, there's an interview with Feige literally explaining just that. Like, that unravels the multiverse. Kang is the new main bad guy, and we're gonna have to see how it all unfolds. And I wonder what we might learn today at today's event. What secrets might be revealed? E.T. wants to know who your favorite Loki variant is, so write it in the comments. He's very interested in this. He'll tell you his if you tell him yours.
Turn right. Then the destination is on your right.
Alright, I've made the trek through the maze of parking and hallways of the Pacific Design Center. Everyone here is lining up for the Loki event, so I'm gonna go do that, and I'll check in with you later. Hey, here we are. I'm checking for Loki. Alright, so I've never been here before. I'm gonna go this way. Let me check this out. They got little seating areas. This looks very Loki. This looks very, very Loki. Check it out. Let's see how close I can get.
Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Bresnikan. I'm a film and television writer for Vanity Fair, and I've been spending a lot of time recently working on a project that unravels the whole timeline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I feel a lot of kinship with the TVA in this minutes especially. I'd like to thank you for coming out, for watching the screening. It's a different experience on the big screen, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I want please join me in welcoming our special guest today. I'll begin with Loki himself, executive producer of the series, Tom Hiddleston. The director and executive producer, Kate Herron. And executive producer, Michael Wildcard. Composer, Natalie Holt. everyone.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. Thank you all for coming out on a Sunday afternoon to see our work.
I wonder if you could walk us back. Some you've probably answered this already, and some people may already know, but I know a lot of planning goes into the creation of the Marvel Universe, and you've been on that ride now for more than a decade. When did you learn that this would be Loki's next step? Of course, you met your end in this episode. He watches his demise at the hands of Thanos.
Yes.
Did you believe that was the end for Loki, or did you know?
No, truthfully, I thought the end of Infinity War, or rather the opening of Infinity War, was the end of my journey. So it was a great surprise and a great delight when Louis D'Esposito and Kevin Feige called. I think it was around the spring of 2018. And it was actually before the public launch of Disney Plus, but Marvel knew obviously what was going on, and they were very excited by the opportunity to tell more stories. And Lewis and Kevin said one of the first ideas they had was for Loki to have his own story. So they called me up, and I said, my first question was, well, what are we going to do about Infinity War? But there was a plan, as there always is, and one of the most exciting things was, so that was spring of 2018, and we had 2 years really before we started production to come up with the idea and expand on it and add and imagine and dream and pitch and think about all the different things that we could do with the character, different stories we could tell. So it has been a long journey. Where are we? 2022, 4 years ago.
Michael, were you on first? Were you writing it first? And then Kate, I know you created a document that is kind of famous.
Yes, I was on first and had written, we've done the 20 weeks of the writer's room and written the pilot, and we had early drafts of all the episodes, and we'd invented time travel, and all those rules were perfectly airtight. And then we had the great benefit of when Kate came in the process, it was her genius, fresh eyes, coming in, not having all of our institutional baggage of everything we've been thinking about while we were creating this stuff. And so she really helped us refine it and was a huge part of not just the filmmaking, but even the rewriting process as I was revising, the entire season.
I knew it was a wild card going in because I asked my agent, I was like, can you just keep calling them and eventually they'll meet me. But I don't know who else you guys met, but I just knew they were like big dogs, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to give them everything from my brain. And I think the PDF was, oh God. It changes every time I talk about it, which makes it even more mysterious. But I think it was genuinely at least over 100 slides, but it was everything, like architecture, story stuff, casting. I mean, everything. So yeah, I just went for it really. I mean, I guess one thing. Am I holding this too close to my mouth, by the way? I don't know. I'm not normally speaking on the microphone. Okay, so like the Time Theatre, for example, I thought it would be cool, because I love Minority Report, if rather than cut to like clips from Loki's life, if we put them on a stage. And Minority Report, the connection is because there's a really beautiful moment in that where Tom Cruise's character, he sees his wife who's passed away, and she's this full 3D projection, right? But it's really painful because he feels like, she's there with him, but she's not there with him. And I love that idea, and you steal from the best, right? So I was like, well, let's take that and put that on a stage. So it's like Loki is watching a play of his life. So that's one of the ideas that, got into the show. And then I would say beyond that, like, so much of it was like collaborative among all of us, you know, like, I think one thing I loved about it, and that, you know, Michael and me connected on, and Kevin Feige was always encouraging us, right? He was like, go weirder, go bolder, and we'd be like, okay, we thought the alligator was weird, but great, we'll keep going.
Pretty much weirder than the Loki alligator.
Yeah, because I remember like that was in, like, when I got the job, like, you know, Michael and his team had come up with that, and I was like, this show's crazy, like, that's great. So that kind of set the bar for like anything is possible. So I think all of us as a team, you know, we were always like, how can we make this, you know, the clearest but also most ambitious telling of the story we want to do.
And you've stuck him in this institutional, bureaucratic place, which he seems to not fit into. And I wondered if just going the opposite direction from what Loki would be used to was one of the things that just you could always rely on for inspiration. Any of you, would you like to jump in on that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was, I think Tom said it best. Every step of the way, how can we take Loki out of his comfort zone? And really, I think that was even the philosophy in just the inception of the show, that we didn't want to do anything with this character that had been done before. You know, Loki had been in several movies. He had sort of a complete arc to some extent, a redemptive arc at least. And so we felt like we had to find new ground to cover for him. And yeah, I think that was our process, just taking him out of his comfort zone.
It's kind of a show about identity in lots of ways. One of Kate's extraordinary, I guess it was, we talked about it so much, right? That it was about confrontation with self. And if you we just wanted to break Loki open, break him down, and confront him with all his patterns of behavior, all the knowledge through which he conceives of himself as high status, and ask the question, who are you? Who do you think you are? And who might you be revealed to be? It's an amazing, dramatic question. In a way that show is about exploring the disparate fragments of his self and trying to integrate them into a whole, where he can try to find which parts of himself he wants to keep after it's all been fragmented in some way. It's a great parable in a way, this use of variance and our first meeting, my first meeting with Kate, I said, what do you think it's about? And she said, I think it's about self-acceptance, which is very new as a flavor.
New wave, an influence on you too, because I felt a little of like Pink Floyd and Adam Hartmother and maybe the Pet Shop Boys in your score. Am I picking up the right flavors?
In episode 5, and we did a prog theme, because we had time on this show as well, because we had lockdown in the middle of it. So we were given this gift of all this extra time to just sit with the themes and develop ideas. And then when Kate went back to shoot, we had the Loki theme by that point, didn't we? So you managed to take that back into the world with you, and it kind of grew organically. So it was so nice to have all this time and to be able to replace things which would probably usually be source tracks. But we're like, oh, let's try a kind of, with the DB Cooper, we did a samba kind of version of the Loki theme. And it was just fun to, with the cartoon where he enters the TVA at the beginning, we did a sort of Bernard Herrmann-esque version of the TVA theme. So yeah, it was great to just play around with the themes and just seed them so much. Yeah.
Tell me about the creation of Miss Minutes, and we know ultimately, for those who've seen the end of the show, how she factors in, but at the beginning, why was she important to have this little animated, weird cartoon clock in the story?
She was a cheat. Somebody had to tell you how this crap worked. And so in the first draft of the script, I didn't want to get hung up figuring out a clever way to deliver all the time travel exposition. And so I just wrote Miss Minutes. And I was like, it's kind of like Mr. DNA from Jurassic Park. It's a real inspiring look behind the curtain. But in fact, she felt it really worked, and giving her the Southern affectation. She talks just like my wife. Was I guess the inspiration for her, but there was something perfectly disarming yet sinister about her. She's meant to just be.
I did not trust her from the beginning.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but she's meant to be just sweet as pie, but there is something just a little bit insidious going on that, of course, you see by the end that she's working for the big bad, and so that was a really fun character that then Kate and our whole team, the way that was brought to life in animation, and then of course voiced by the legendary Tara Strong, to get her to do that voice was just so cool.
I suspect you have to come up with rules and logic for yourself to follow, for you and the other writers, but it also has to be something that the audience can follow along with without having it overly spoon-fed to them in a way that slows the story down. So are those the hazards of writing stories that involve the multiverse? And how do you get around that?
Yes, there are many hazards. I have a very low threshold for boredom. I fall asleep easy watching anything. I think that's so I'm always in writing this stuff, especially this sci-fi stuff. I'm like, all right, when am I nodding off as somebody's explaining how timelines work? And I think that the way that we did it in this show is in the writers' room, we took our first two and a half weeks or so and broke the general emotional arc for the season. We really did stay close to and kind of what each of the 6 episodes would be and feel like. And then we had to sit down and spend 3 weeks, which is a big bulk of your time in a 20-week writer's room, and define the rules of the TVA. How does time travel work according to the Time Variance Authority? Because we had to understand that so we could understand what constituted a time crime. How do you break that law? So we figured all that out, developed all this institutional knowledge, and then we said, all right, how can we make sure the audience essentially never knows any of this? How can we shift it so far to the background and give them the bare minimum necessary to just get swept up in the personal, emotional story? And I think that's the trick, whether it's Loki or another character in a multiversal story. Who cares about the multiverse? It only matters if it's a interesting way to tell an emotional story about your character. It's cool because you can use it as a reflective tool with your characters the way we do with Loki in this, but I think that it still has to be driven by emotion and finding humanity. And when you work with Tom and this cast, luckily you're able to do that pretty easily.
Is Loki still having a good time? Or is it now time for him to pay out for his good times?
Loki may be having less of a good time, but I'm having a great time. It's amazing to hear that back.
I wish I had one of those little devices.
I could play it back. Watch it on Instagram, I'll have a breakdown. You have that machine. It's. I think as a child I was always drawn to those amazing performances that you and I mentioned. because they were all seemed to be so charismatic. They seemed to be so fun. I was just drawn to them, and I thought that Loki was the god of mischief, so he had to be having a great time too. My great privilege is that this go around was to go much deeper into the source of who he is. And I think it was really interesting and strangely enjoyable to make that deeper exploration. And I hope it's been enjoyable for the audience to. It's so unusual. I keep thinking this. I will probably, in all likelihood, never have an experience like this again in my life of playing a character across such a length of time. And I've always wanted to preserve those aspects of the characterization that people are drawn to, but take responsibility for inventing new things and new opportunities for exploration, new flavors and colors and insights, which I hope is why he's still around.
Can you share with us when you'll be playing him next? Will we be a god of mischief and just break your NDA or whatever?
I think I'm allowed to tell you that we're doing a second season. So I'll be doing that shortly. My hair is not short.
Check this out. We got all these Loki posters set up around. Here we are behind the bar. Wow, check it out. It's so cool.
Which is funny because I don't think I loved it.
Old Loki, yeah. That's a wrap here at the Pacific Design Center for Loki. Just like we got to meet Tom Hiddleston, everyone. It's so cool. Don't forget to like this video. You know, it really helps me out. Helps out the channel, helps out the video. Don't forget to subscribe too so you can get more. Thanks everyone. I am out of here.